can. And the government can go and mix it up with lies and make it all yummy, 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 yummy. The government takes everything. They're all power hungry and malicious. Their economics are fictitious. Soon we'll have to eat our dishes. Yeah. Delicious. And who can be a failure? In so many ways. And instead of getting fired, hey, we'll give ourselves a raise. California, you know what I'm talking about. Government can. And the government can toast to mix it up and like make it all taste good. And the other side can mixes it to life. Get down! Get down! And I feel so good. I could.
Happy Thursday night, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on this Thursday night, the 13th day of March. It is good to see everybody in the house tonight. And what are we doing here? Why is I'm always in the dark. Don't say it. Don't say it. Looks my hat. Looks like my dog has gotten a hold of my hat. Wouldn't doubt that. Anyway, this is the beauty of being on radio during the day. I ain't got to worry about all this. You know, I can just run my mouth and they can hear me. They just can't see all the things. I've been doing this for 7 years. I should have it down pat, shouldn't I? By now I don't, but anyway.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
I've got the best memes in the world. It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's a Thursday night, and we're going to have a lot of this tonight, I can tell you right now. What did he say? We're going to get to the serious stuff first. We got some stories to cover. Russia has agreed, in principle, to the ceasefire deal with Ukraine. We'll talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about lawfare. The Dems have found a new weapon to try to stop what Trump is doing, down to the point of judges literally telling Trump he can't fire people from the federal government. That is the most asinine thing I've ever seen. I don't know where the solution that's going to come. They've got to find a remedy for this in the courts higher up. But that's ongoing tonight. Several judges today, both Biden and Obama judges told Trump he couldn't fire different people. And now Letitia James has filed another lawsuit claiming Trump can't fire the education department, literally telling him you can't do what you can't do something with your own executive branch. It's just crap. But we're going to talk about that tonight. The budget deal, the government, the shutdown has been averted. Schumer has caved, just like Canada caved. Just like Europe's going to cave. Did you hear what Trump did yesterday? He put a 500% tariff on beer and wine. All the drunks in America said, wait, Mr. President, wait a minute. But Trump is so brilliant. We're going to play a clip from him. He called Chuck Schumer a Palestinian today. a Palestinian. He said, Chuck ain't even Jewish. Only Trump. See, Trump can say that and get away with it. I can't say that and get away with it. Trump can say it and get away with it. And that was one of those moments when the media was like, what did he just say? So, anyway, we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight. Tonight is Purim. I think it's 2:45 in the morning, sometime after 2 in the morning. The moon, it's full moon, beautiful moon out there tonight. My goodness. Took a video of it tonight. A picture is so beautiful coming up over the trees. The prettiest time of the day. I'm a photographer. I've been a photographer for many years, and whenever I photograph full moons, and it's hard with the lighting to get the right shot, but the best time of the night to see a full moon is when it's first coming over the horizon, and especially if it comes over the horizon right at dusk and not necessarily in the dark of night, because I tell you, there's just something about that moon when you see the transition between day to night, and then you see this big ball of white in the sky. It is so beautiful. But tonight, after midnight, it's going to turn blood red. It's going to actually be a blood moon. First one since 22. I understand that there are going to be 6 of these next year, and the next one's March of 26, and then between 2026 and 2030, if the Lord tarries, of course, we are going to have, I think, 6 of these. So it's going to be interesting. My memory of the blood moon was the situation in 2014, 2015. We had 4 of them back to back to back to back. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. And tonight, it's already Friday. It's Friday morning, probably around 4 o'clock in the morning in Israel. But they are celebrating Purim up to sundown tomorrow, and our sundown. But I want to wish all of our Jewish friends a very, very happy Purim tonight that commemorates the great deliverance of Israel, the nation, from the hands of Haman back in the days of Persia. We talked about that today on our K-Star radio show. I encourage you, kstarmedia.com. Angeline and the gang over there, they have been so gracious to it this week. We'll have our first full weekend tomorrow. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been a little challenging to do radio. Hadn't done radio and ever really to just do audio and not video. It's a little different. And we are still sort of waiting our way through it. I thought today's program was the best of the week. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable as each day goes on, and you have to sort of get into a mode with this, just like you got to get into a mode with this. With this, I just sort of, knowing that I can see out there in the chat, I can see the reaction, it's a little different, and I could be talking to a bunch of squirrels for all I know. On that radio, I could be talking. I know. Cleo said she heard me in the wee hours of the morning briefly, and Carol Smith sends an email, and I've got Jimmy Lemons. He called it such refreshing, Chris the Refresher, and Jimmy, thank you for that. I've been called a lot of things, Jimmy. Refreshing is never one of them. Loudmouth, big mouth, smart blank, arrogant, know-it-all. Naive. I've been called a lot of things. But, at least it's not boring, right? At least it's not boring around here. But I want to thank it's elementary, my dear Watson. It's elementary. We're grateful to have you. All right, now, that's what we're going to try to talk about tonight before we let you out of here. We're going to take your questions. Please no paragraphs, folks. I mean this. When you put paragraphs in, it distracts people. They can't got time to read your paragraph. And if they wanted to tune into your paragraph, you need to get your own channel. So please respect my parameters here. We do that for a reason. We give you plenty of time at the end to express your opinion. And we're going to do it again tonight. We're going to get your thoughts. Just hang in here because we got a lot of serious stuff to talk about tonight. First thing off tonight I want to deal with is the weather. This is a situation that is developing in the heartland of the country starting tomorrow afternoon into Saturday and Sunday. And I want to talk about this a little bit tonight. We have got a very serious weather pattern developing. I want to come over here to our screen, our newswire tonight. We're grateful to have you, by the way, and I never mean anything I say like that mean-spirited about the chat, but Y'all been around me long enough to know how things work. This is the upper dynamics of this storm, and I'm going to just roll this thing, and I want you to look at this system that's been coming out of the Pacific area. California, you're getting a lot of rain out of this, and this is Friday, and it's going to dig down into the country. And by afternoon tomorrow, it's going to be right in the heartland. That energy that you see there in that dark red is going to be the parameter for an outbreak of numerous, and I mean numerous, tornadoes. Some of these will be very dangerous. Some of them will be long-lived. Some of them will be EF2, maybe EF3s tomorrow. Some of these storms will be on the ground, and they're not going to be these little spin-ups and up and back into the clouds. This is going to be a damaging wind, hail, tornadoes, damaging tornado event, all the way really from the Great Lakes up in Wisconsin, Michigan, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. That's just Friday. And then this thing continues to march east into Friday. And if you look at that bottom part, this thing only goes to 12 o'clock noon Saturday. But if you look at the bottom part to the left there, you can see that dark energy coming. That's a moisture stream. And that is going to go into the southeast. And that is going to be another round of this that's going to affect southwest Alabama, central Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, Mississippi. You all are going to be under the gun. Louisiana, Arkansas, the western part of Tennessee. But really from more points east, Ohio, down to the Gulf Coast and Georgia is going to be the threat for severe weather. Now, this is the National Storms Prediction Center. This is what they call the convective outlook. And if you look down at the bottom, you've got 5 levels. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We very rarely have a high of 5. Every now and then we'll get that. It's really early in the year to have a moderate risk area, but you can see the most concerning. The concern is tomorrow in eastern Missouri, western Illinois, a sliver of northwest Tennessee, southwest Kentucky, but that enhanced feature that goes into Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas and back into Iowa is just as dangerous. But there's going to be some bad weather tomorrow, folks. Dangerous tornadoes. So if you're listening to me tonight and you live in any of these areas in that dark red, that dark orange, you need to be alert tonight. And then Saturday, it even gets even more pronounced. But this area moves further south. And this is, you can see the orange area shifts south into Tennessee, the Tennessee Valley, the southeast, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, the Florida Panhandle. And then that line basically moves east. Sunday, it'll be more toward the east coast on the I-95 corridor in the Carolinas and North Florida and so forth. But let me explain this number 4, this moderate area that you see there right now. That moderate area, folks, is that's probably done 3 times or 4 times a year max, unless we just have a weird spring season. 1 is usually just general thunderstorms. There's a marginal they get up to. Maybe you'll have some gusty winds, maybe some hail. There was some of that today in Alabama. But they're not severe. A severe thunderstorm, anything 58 miles an hour or higher, is considered severe. And whenever you see a yellow box at level 2, that is when there's a possibility of that. They feel confident there will be some isolated storms like that, and yes, even tornadoes in that sometimes as well. But a slight risk is just what it means, it's slight. You start getting into that enhanced region, they're pretty much, it's a 60 to 70% chance that there will be severe weather in that region that they've got hatched out, and whether it's in the form of a squall line or individual cells or whatever. When they put a red circle out there like that, they are about 90% confident that there are going to be storms. And usually it also points to the intensity of these storms tomorrow and Friday, or tomorrow and Saturday. The tornadoes will be a little bit more intense. EF2, EF3, EF4. We showed you the chart the other night when Anthony Cavalucci was on. We had hoped to have gotten James Spann on, but he's busy tomorrow. He's going to be following this weather. You folks in Alabama and Mississippi, Tennessee, Florida, and Tennessee western part, I'd be looking up to the sky. But you northern folks in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, don't let the guard down. It's March. It is spring weather season. This is really early for something like this to happen, but they're expecting 2 days of this. So, just want to give you a heads up. We're not here to scare you, just here to prepare you. Not here to scare you. We're just here to give you a heads up that you've got some bad weather developing in the country tomorrow. I'd encourage you to keep an eye on things and so forth. Now, that is my weather forecast for you tonight. I do a bad job being a weatherman, but it's because of this energy coming out of the Pacific, and this is going to hook up with some upper-level winds, and we're going to have a very volatile day tomorrow and Saturday in the mid part of the country, and then ultimately into the southeast. So please be careful and so forth. I want to talk tonight a little bit about this right here. This is out of the Gateway Pundit. Today. It's a great article. Judicial insurrection, radical leftist judges wage all-out war against President Trump. 119 challenges, folks. Can you believe this? In 2 months. This is more than double of any president in history. By the way, I got the link wrong for K-Star. It's kstartalkradio.com. My bad. K-Star Talk Radio is right. If you go to kstarmedia.com, you ain't going to get nothing. kstartalkradio.com is the website. That is the correct website. Getting back to the judges, 119 legal challenges. Since returning to the White House in January, President Trump has been met with an unprecedented legal onslaught from far activist judges and groups determined to sabotage his administration at every turn. Josh Hammer, senior counsel for the Article 3 project, warned that what America is witnessing tonight is not just judicial activism, it's an outright judicial insurrection. It's similar to how the communist left attacked him using a cadre of radical activist judges his first time in office. After nearly 2 months in office, these radical extremist judges continue to wreak havoc on the Trump administration and the country. So far, the Supreme Court has failed to shut down the lawlessness by these judges. Attorney Josh Hammer, quote, "Let me just lay the scene briefly here. What we're seeing is not just judicial activism. Steve, I use the words very carefully there. I mean, this is a full-on judicial insurrection going back to the very first days of this administration in power. By the way, those of us with a long enough memory do remember the first Trump administration. This is nothing new. The first administration, from 2017 to 21, faced, by my count, I believe, was 65 so-called nationwide injunctions. That's in 4 years, which, by the way, is more than the first 44 presidents of the United States combined, literally in all of American history. Think about this, folks. They basically picked up in January, just last month, as if they hadn't lost a beat over the past 4 years, whether it's a judge in Washington State, or Ohio, or Washington, D.C., or Florida, or Hawaii. The notion that you can issue a TRO, a temporary restraining order, and thereby try to bring a federal executive branch policy and executive order to halt, is completely anathema. It's bat crap crazy. That's how the separation of powers work. On Wednesday, soulless activist judge Tanya Chutkan ruled that state attorneys generals can access information, if you can believe it, about DOJ employees working to cut waste and fraud in government, basically putting a target on their back so violent leftists could pursue them on the streets of America. Quote by the Gateway Pundit, "What a complete loon." I'd add a few other words to that, but this is a family show. And also on the same day, communist judge Beryl Howell blocked President Trump from blocking far-left law firm Perkins Coie from all government business and buildings. Perkins Coie was central in the scam to take down President Trump in his first term to office with their Russia-Putin hoax. Josh Hammer described how these radical judges are attempting to shut down the Trump administration with their likely coordinated judicial activism. Hammer noted the first two Trump administrations faced 65, or the first Trump administration just faced 65 nationwide injunctions. So far this year, get this, 119 legal challenges in 2 months, folks, by activist judges, and only 2 cases are closed. The full list of 119 challenges are on the website, and you can see the website here. Actually, you can see some of that website there, Just Security. And let me see here. I'm not sure what that is, but if I click the link, I'll leave the screen. I don't want to do that. But there is some of the, you can see right here. I just need my whiteboard out. I need my whiteboard. I feel like I need to be Professor Kingsfield tonight. Get my whiteboard out. There we go. This is what that website is going to look like. And you can go to this website, just put Just Security in the browser. It should pull up this website, and that's going to show you the 119 cases that are ongoing. U.S. News is also tracking the lawsuits against the Trump administration. According to Elon Musk, Grok AI, the average across 46 presidents, most pre-20th century, let me talk straight, most pre-20th century presidents face 0 to 5 legal challenges, often indirect. Modern presidents have averaged 10 to 30, driven by increased judicial oversight and partisan. Trump stands out with potentially 100-plus challenges, dwarfing Clinton. The closest that Trump has ever been to is Clinton. Clinton had 10 to 15 during his 8 years. Nixon had 5 to 10 and others. And this is the climate, folks, that we're in. This is the most dangerous time. And I'm going to tell you something. This is extremely, extremely troubling. This is something that banana republics do. And I've been trying to get a hold of Judge Allen because I'd like to get her take on this, because she would be a good source to talk to us about this. But we are going to follow this story and so forth. This is the White House's response tonight to the Clinton judge that ordered tens of thousands of fired federal workers to be reinstated. The White House issued a scathing response to the judge's order that is basically making him rehire these wasteless, useless workers. And William Alsup, he sounds like a Clinton appointee because he sucks, but William Alsup, where's Miller where I need him? He could come up with something with that, I'm sure. Ordered the Trump administration to rehire thousands of fired probationary employees in 6 federal agencies. The judge blasted the Trump administration, said he felt misled by the U.S. government as he ordered 6 federal agencies to offer reinstatement to fired probation workers. He said, "It is a sad day when our government would fire some good employees and say it was based on a performance when they know good and well that's a lie. They should have not been done in our country. It was a sham in order to avoid statutory requirements. These agencies include the VA, the DOD, the Energy, the Interior, the Treasury, and the Agriculture." The quote from Caroline Leavitt today was, "A single judge is attempting to unconstitutionally seize the power of hiring and firing," which he is. "From the executive branch, the president has the authority to exercise the power of the entire executive branch. Singular district court judges cannot abuse the power of the entire judiciary to thwart the president's agenda." Bingo! If a federal district court judge would like executive powers, they can try and run for president themselves. The Trump administration will immediately fight back against this absurd and unconstitutional power, and I hope they do in order. They need to do it yesterday. Trump does not need to let the grass grow under his feet about this, folks. This is really a bad look for our judiciary, but who, whatever. Why should we be concerned, or shocked, I should say. Speaking of absurd, this is Maxine today in her latest rant. You got to listen to this.
What does Trump expect? Oh, I believe he expects violence. I believe he expects confrontation. I believe he's working toward a civil war.
He's believing but Trump expects violence. Trump expects violence. I believe he's working toward a civil war. Yeah, right. Here's Maxine some more. Trying to storm into the HUD headquarters a few weeks ago. They're not going to let her in. And as Laura Loomer says, I guess it's only insurrection when Trump supporters protest inside buildings of our nation's capital. And then she went after Miss Waters. Whoops. Excuse me, I thought this was going to, well, I thought it was going to play, but it takes me to the Twitter handle. I don't want it to take me to the Twitter handle. Anyway, you can read this article. This will be on our Telegram website, so check it out there. By the way, folks, very serious situation tonight. This is the Denver American Airlines flight. What is going on with our airplanes? What is going on? The American Airlines catches fire while stationed at Denver International Airport. Passengers had to evacuate literally onto the wing. And that's the pictures right there. Holy smokes, Batman. Holy smokes. But I don't know what's happening. Here's a video of that. Look at that.
Well, it doesn't look like we're flying out today now. Yeah.
And they're putting the fire out there. These are some of the passengers on the wing of the jet. And this is the view from the airport itself.
That's wild.
And another one. Passengers evacuating.
Well, there's people, yeah.
The Gateway Pundit said this afternoon this was a developing story. It was extinguished as of 6:15 p.m. tonight.
Oh my gosh.
No injuries.
Those must be passengers.
Yeah, no injuries have been reported, so thank God for that. But another. I said 500%. It was 200%, but the EU imposed levies on U.S. whiskey. Trump announced monster 200% tariffs on European wine and champagne. All the drunks in the world. Nancy Pelosi, I understand, had a heart attack today when she heard about this. Okay, I know that was a little rough, but that's all right. I got to say something about these tariffs, folks. Listen, all this nervousness and all this stuff that people are out there claiming that's going to bankrupt the country. Do you realize inflation has dropped 2.9% in just a month? Your eggs are down, your gas is down. You may not see it in every part of the country, but eggs are down, gas is down, heating costs are down. We may not see it like right away, like drop, but it's already come down in 1 month. And people have all these folks out there just losing their lunch about, well, Trump's going to cause the inflation and cause the economy to crash because of what he's doing. No, he ain't. No, he ain't. I think what happened in Canada yesterday is a good barometer of things to come. When Trump basically told the Canadians, if you turn my power off and you turn the electricity off to those folks in Michigan, Minnesota, and New York, I'm just going to tariff you into the ground. I'm going to tariff you into the dark ages. The mayor of Ontario, I think Mr. Ford, he saw the light. He got on the phone to the Trump administration. He said, let's talk. And he went out and he said, cooler heads have prevailed. No, what happened was he realized that the loser in this tariff war is not going to be the United States. He's going to lose. Yeah, we'll have some higher prices, and it would be very bad for the people in those areas up there that are serviced by Ontario with electricity. But with Elon and his ingenuity, he would have had you an electric plant built in a few days anyway. I want to warn our people overseas, and I want to warn these nations that are trying to do what they're doing. You're not going to win this war. You're just not. You have been screwing us over with these terrorists for decades. Nobody has had the guts, nobody has had the willpower to stand up to you until now. You don't like it, so that's why you retaliate. Retaliate. Because we're going to retaliate even more. Now, what's going to happen? I heard Kevin O'Leary last night on Gutfeld. And Kevin O'Leary is one of the most brilliant financial minds we've got in this country. I like Shark Tank. I can't stand Mark Cuban, but I like to watch that show, Shark Tank. It's an interesting show. People bring their ingenuity, their ideas, and these billionaires compete for their contracts and deals and all this. And Kevin O'Leary, he's just a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's from New York, and he's got a mixed bag with Trump. I think he loves Trump's financial policies. He does not like Trump's personality, but that's Kevin O'Leary. But him and Trump are the same way because Kevin O'Leary has got a sarcasm to him. But he said it last night. He said what's going to happen is going to wash out. He said both our nation and these other nations are going to see it's not going to benefit anybody. But he said what's going to happen then, that the nations that have been putting these tariffs on us, they're going to come to the table and say, okay, what do we need to do to call the dogs off? And what Trump's going to tell him, he's already telling him, is, well, let's talk fair. Let's be fair. If you're going to charge us 20% for our goods going into your country, we're going to charge you 20% coming into ours. And why don't we just drop the tariffs? There shouldn't be any tariffs if we're going to do business with each other. He's already got Mexico talking to him. Canada caved, and they will cave again. So I'm not worried about it. And if I was you, I wouldn't be either. Because we're going to win this war. They need us more than we need them. Will it cause a little blip here and there? Of course. But I just want to say these people that are losing their lunch and running for the hills and the sky's falling and the country's crashing, just ignore it. Please ignore it. Ignore that mess. Because that's what it is.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's a mess. Way to go, President Trump. But Nancy got a little nervous about that today. I'm sure. 200%. Lord have mercy. 200% tariffs. Whiskey. Lord have mercy. Have we not got a wild president? We got a wild nation right now. It's crazy. Way to go, President Trump. That's Macron, and I'm not sure who the other lady is on the left. But he whacked their wine and champagne. So you have to get champagne from America for a while. That's all I got to say. Let's see here. A couple other stories I want to talk about tonight. Let me... this is the big other news of the day. Putin, this happened this afternoon around 2. We were actually going on the air at K-Star when this took place, and President Vladimir Putin has thanked President Trump on Thursday for paying attention to the Ukraine settlement. For years, President Trump, I'm thinking, oh, only Trump. For years now, President Trump insisted that if he were president, the Russian invasion would never have started and that he would be able to solve a peace agreement with the two countries. And Vladimir Putin has agreed to a U.S. plan for a short-term ceasefire, but he did specifically put conditions on it. And the conditions is this right here, folks. He says, we agree with the proposals for the ceasefire, but our position on the assumption the ceasefire will lead to a long-term peace. And he thanked President Trump today. I want you to watch this video. This is what leadership does in America, folks, when you have a leader. It makes the world notice. It makes the world get along. Roll the tape.
As for Ukraine's preparedness to cease fire, well, let me tell you, as I see it. But first of all, I would like to start with words of gratitude to the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, for paying so much attention to the Ukraine settlement. All of us have a lot on our plates, but many state leaders chairman of the Chinese People's Republic, the Prime Minister of India, President of Brazil, and South African Republic all pay a lot of attention and devote a lot of time to this issue, and we are thankful to them because it's all aimed at the noble cause of stopping hostilities and stopping human casualties.
Now that's Vladimir Putin today. I want to say something about that. The media, not us, but the media, was predicting that Putin wouldn't do this. In fact, even the right-wing media. I was watching people on Fox and Newsmax and a few of these other things, and these Ukrainian sympathizers, or just, they were like that Zelensky had done this great olive branch to Putin, and Putin was bombing him while Zelensky was trying to make a peace overture and all this junk. And folks, let me make it abundantly clear about my opinion about all this. I don't trust Zelensky any further than I trust Putin. I trust Zelensky less. It came out today that Zelensky came out after Putin said this, and he said, we will not give up any territory that we have seized from the Russians. Well, that's what this whole conflict is about. It's about land. It's about what Ukraine and Russia have disagreed on for nearly a decade over their land situation. In good faith, Putin says, I thank President Trump for trying to work something out. I don't want there to be any more loss of life. And I believe that. I would like to believe Zelensky is a fair player. But it remains to be seen if this is going to lead to long-term peace. But Putin is right in this. If he's going to stop bombing the you-know-what out of Ukraine. By the way, Russia's winning this war. The media don't want you to think that. They think the Ukrainians are making this great grand stand against these Russian forces. They're not. They're not. I got to ask you a question. I asked you this when this war first broke out 3 years ago. We did a show with somebody. I think it was Eric Karen. When I was growing up, I grew up in the 70s, of course. I was born in 60, and the Vietnam War was sort of waning down. It was sort of ending. Nixon was in office in the early 70s, and he was elected in 72. And one of the first things that Nixon did, he brought the boys home from Vietnam. But I remember as a child, my memory, that every day Walter Cronkite would come on the television, and there would always be a report from Vietnam. There would be a report. The reporters would be embedded. We saw it in Iraq. We saw it in Afghanistan. We saw it in every war this country has ever fought. And when there have been other conflicts, we have always gotten reporters on the ground giving us a play-by-play of what's going on. And the only play-by-play that we've ever gotten from this Russia-Ukraine war has been the left-wing media and what they've wanted us to know about this war. There's been very little reporting that I can see that is legitimate reporting. And folks, there's been rumblings and rumors that this thing wasn't even going on. I'm not going to go that far. I believe there was a war going. But I've always believed that we were never getting the truth about this, no more than we get the truth anyway from the media. But look, this is a ray of hope. I'm not going to kiss a gift horse in the mouth. I'm going to say, I hope that Putin's sincere. I hope Zelensky's sincere. We're about to find out. But at least we've got a breakthrough, a small one, in this horrible conflict that has killed nearly 1 million people on each side. It's almost been like a genocide on both sides. And over absolutely nothing. When you get down to the reasons these two countries have been fighting for 3 years, it has been nothing of consequence other than a regional skirmish that could have been settled had you had leadership in D.C. You had a president, folks, that actually was rooting for Zelensky to keep killing Russians. He didn't care how many Russians were dead. He didn't care how many Ukrainians were dying. Biden and his thirst warmongering cabinet, they were rooting for this to continue forever. And I have no doubt if Kamala Harris would have got elected, this would have just kept going till infinitum. It would have at least gone 4 more years. I guess until they killed each other. All their country was gone. But what's happening tonight is a sign that we may be averting World War III for right now. Because countries were taking sides in this just a week ago. I saw Britain taking the sides of Zelensky. Europe was standing with him. He came over here when he had his butt handed to him by Trump in that White House, and he was so disrespectful to Trump and Vance. And don't you love our Vice President J.D. Vance? He is the man. He was hosting the Ireland Prime Minister this week. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Those green socks. I need to go out and get me a pair of green socks. Monday's St. Patrick's Day. Ireland. But J.D. Vance is beginning to really exert himself as vice president. I'm really proud of him. But he put Zelensky in his place as a good vice president. Mike Pence would have never done that. Mike Pence would have acted like a little whip dog and been patting him on the back and, oh, well, we're sorry and we'll get this right. And I am so glad that Pence is not even within the scope of the Motel 6 janitor squad right now. And I have no respect. I lost all respect for him in 21, and I've never gained it back and never will. But anyway, that's another issue. But the issue tonight, Russia and Ukraine are going to at least talk. So let's hope that's a good news, right? Let's hope that's good news. A couple other stories, and we're going to get to some of your questions. There's the ceasefire. That's out of Breitbart. We were reading out of Gateway Pundit. This is the other big story tonight. Chuck Schumer has caved on the Republican spending bill. He will vote for cloture. That's the look you get. That is the look you get when you have had your backside handed to you by Donald Trump without Trump even trying. Without Trump even trying. This is what Trump had to say about Schumer today. You got to love this. You just got to love this.
And Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. You know, he's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore.
Oh, I got to come over here. Where's my, come on back. That would be a moment. That would have been a moment today if I was sitting in the press corps that I would have done this. Come on, computer. Come on. There we go. This is what I would have done to that.
What did he say?
What did he just say? Way to go, Trump. Schumer's a Palestinian. Only President Trump can get away with something like that.
And Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. You know, he's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
Schumer will vote for cloture. He needs 6 more Dems to follow him. He will get it. Fetterman's going to vote for this. Manchin will vote for this. And Fetterman and him will do it. That's a big deal tonight. And look, folks, let me say this. I'm no fan of Chuck Schumer, but he's doing the right thing for the country. This continuing resolution will keep us funded till September. And with a President Trump in office, we're going to see a balanced budget. We're going to see a budget that will come forth by then. September is the beginning of the fiscal year. And that will give us roughly 6 months to get our fiscal house in order. And I have nothing but confidence that President Trump will do just that. So it's a good night for the country. Let's see here. A couple other things we're going to look at with you tonight. Let me go back to that news wire, and then we're going to play a few videos and take your questions. We hope you're enjoying the show so far. Don't Schumer just look like he's constipated or something? That looks like a physical condition to me, or a mental one. By the way, Chuck don't want you to hear this. This is what he talked about just last year.
If the government shuts down, it will be average Americans who suffer most. A government shutdown means seniors who rely on Social Security could be thrown into chaos as the Social Security Administration limits certain services like benefit verifications or fixing errors in payments. Our veterans could see regional VA offices shut down and support services put on hold. Some of our military service members could be forced to work without pay. Families who benefit from WIC and other nutrition programs could see benefits halted.
And that's exactly what could happen. That was Chuck Schumer last year, folks. Wasn't even this year. He was threatening to shut it down this year, but thank God cooler heads have prevailed. But this is his comment tonight. Schumer went out and said Thursday that the repercussions of shutting down the federal government would be worse than voting for the House funding bill. He said the vicious bastards of President Donald Trump and Elon Musk will destroy democracy. Under a shutdown, it is the executive branch, in this case Trump, Musk, Doge, and Voight, who's head of the OMB, who we all know are authoritarians, vicious, nasty, who would have sole control over what is funded and what isn't. They get to determine which is an essential service, and they will cut to smithereens far greater than in the CR bill, which is a lousy bill. You can't go to court. This is a decision totally by the executive branch, so it would be devastating. Chuck still looks like he's constipated, and he talks like it.
Confused about this decision.
Okay.
Or upset by it. So just spell out, just give me your logic, particularly on this sort of on the one hand, on the other. What is the cost you see to the constitutional order of a shutdown that isn't already being done now?
It's a dramatic cost. Here's why, Chris. Under a shutdown, it is the executive branch, in this case Trump, Musk, Doge, and Vogt, who's head of the OMB, who we all know are authoritarians, vicious, nasty, who would have sole control over what is funded and what isn't. They get to determine what is a, quote, essential service. And they will just cut to smithereens, far greater than in the CR bill, which is a lousy bill. Far greater than that, what could be funded and what couldn't. And there's no recourse. You can't go to court. This is a decision totally in the executive branch. And so it would be devastating. Why is it that Elon Musk and Donald Trump want a government shutdown? So they can take control of the government and do their vicious, horrible things. They could cut half the government. They could tell employees you're not essential and never bring them back.
And that is Chuck Schumer making the case tonight, by the way, folks, while I'm at it. He just made the case while these judges' actions are unconstitutional. He's making the case that the executive branch gets the funding power. They get the funding decisions. It's a constitutional republic. We got separation of powers, executive, judicial, and legislative. Congress needs to step into these judges. The Supreme Court needs to step in and stop this mess. But I'm beginning to wonder if we can depend on the Supreme Court. And that's another discussion for another night. Maybe that'll be one of our topics next week on the K-Star Network. Chuck Schumer just made he would have been a great defense attorney or a prosecutor attorney to stop this lawfare. The executive branch has the power. I don't want to beat this dead horse tonight. I got more important things to talk about. It's done. Hopefully it will be voted on by midnight tomorrow night, and the government will not shut down. Sticks and stones, Chuck, will break my bones, but words will never, ever hurt us. And this is some older news wires, and I didn't realize we had so many of these out there, but we did, and so forth. I want to do a few other videos tonight. There's an update out of Syria. I do want to do one thing before we do this. I don't know if you've heard about this. There was a little brush up in the Senate here a few days ago. I don't know the senator's name, but he brought down the wrath of Mr./Mrs. McBride. He's a mister. He's a man. He's a man. He's a man. The first transgender member of Congress. You're a man, Mr. McBride. You shouldn't have got upset. Your colleagues went to your defense. Roll the tape.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I mean, I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Goodbye. See ya. Get up. Walk out. He was right, folks. It was Mr. McBride. Johnson said back in November, we're not going to play this fantasy game. And Keaton went out there today and said, look, I'm not playing his fantasy. He's a man. And let me tell you something. It's a disgrace. I don't know who you are in Delaware, you folks in Delaware tonight. You should be ashamed of yourself putting that individual as representative. I'm not judging the individual. But folks, when you get this in the high levels of government, you've got apostasy in your nation. You got apostasy in your nation. I know you don't want to hear that, some of you, and that's okay. Look, if he wants to represent Delaware, that's fine. But the Congress does not have to bow down to his transgender militarism. Well, Mr. McBride went out there today, and he had a few choice words for the Republicans. Roll the tape. Roll the tape.
We will not take a lecture on decorum from a party that incited an insurrection.
We will not take that for a party that sponsored an insurrection. Line number one. Roll tape.
I appear to live rent-free in the minds of some of my Republican colleagues. I wish...
You don't live rent-free anywhere. You're probably getting paid by USAID.
That they would spend even a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me.
We're not thinking about you. We're not thinking about you. We don't care. I hate to tell you, Mr. McBride, we don't care. What we do care about is the decorum. You're talking about the decorum of the Senate and the decorum of the House. You need to take a look in the mirror about decorum.
Thinking about how to lower the costs for American families.
That's exactly what they're doing. You're one of the ones opposing Doge.
I wish they would spend a fraction of the time that they spend thinking about me, figuring out how to make government actually work better, rather than making it work worse in order to prove that government can't work.
What did she just say? What did he just say? What did he just say?
What did he say?
What did he say? I can't understand it. He's sounding like Kamala Harris.
They are obsessed with culture war issues.
No, we're not.
The Republican Party is obsessed with culture war issues.
This is Rich coming from a party that can't tell you there's two genders. This is Rich coming from a party that is pushing this on Congress. This is a woman. This is Rich that the Republicans are waging the cultural war. No, we're not. We're not the ones trying to put transgender readers in front of your kindergartens and drag queen queers in front of your kids. No, we ain't doing that. That's you guys. That's you guys out there. I know this sounds a little rough. It's okay. It's Thursday night. You can get over it. We got about half hour. It's all right. We good. We good. We good. No, if you want to talk about culture wars, Mr. McBride, we'll talk. We'll talk about it's your party that is suing the president for firing wasteless people and basically stopping money going to make rats transgender. If you want to talk culture war.
It is weird and it is bizarre. And the American people...
It's weird and it's bizarre? Are you kidding me? Are you actually saying that it is weird and bizarre?
What did he say?
What did he just say? What did he just say?
Deserve serious legislators, serious elected officials who are focused on bringing people together to deliver real results for the American people, not to play games and not to engage in schoolyard taunts.
Wow. Well, we got 4 of her his cronies there. Did y'all hear anything that Mr. Keaton said that was a taunt? I don't think he did anything that was a taunt. He called Mr. McBride, and you saw how the colleague got all ticked off about it. That's your Congress for you. That's your Congress. That's why the Democrats have a 2% approval rating right now. That's why the Democrats have a 2% approval rating right now. Anyway. On to better things tonight. Today is Purim. By the way, speaking of what we just talked about, Pete Hegseth tonight, this is, again, judicial activism, a federal judge. Nick Stortar, he's a great follower on Twitter. A federal judge ordered Pete Hegseth tonight to retract a post about disqualifying transgender troops from service. The same Biden judge, Anna Reyes, also said the idea of two sexes is not biologically correct. So, Mr. McBride, are you listening? Who's waging the cultural war? Anna Reyes is a Biden judge. You know what's so bad about that? We shouldn't be calling him any kind of judge. It should be the judicial system it shouldn't matter who appointed him. They should be upholding the law equally, period. But I hope Pete doesn't cow down to this mess. I'll leave it at that. Here is something very sweet tonight. As you know, tonight is Purim. And I got some thoughts about that before we give it over to you guys tonight. Don't you love these kids? Thousands. You know, at Purim, the Jews, they dress up. The Jewish people dress up. It's part of the Purim celebration. There's a great festival tonight. They dress up in costumes to celebrate the victory of the Jewish people over Haman. The book of Esther is where you read it. We may even talk about it Sunday morning. We may make a Sunday morning meeting time program out of it. Thousands of Israeli children across the country are dressing up as Batman today for Purim in honor of Ariel Bibas. There's the precious darling. Knowing that Batman was his favorite superhero. That young man is forever in our hearts. And that is one of the babies that was slaughtered in cold blood, strangled to death by the Hamas sympathizers in Gaza, returned in a coffin. And then the IDF tonight followed suit this afternoon. Of course, they're about 7 hours ahead of us. So this was earlier today. But isn't this cool? This is from Noam Katna. This is my Israel. These are my people. IDF soldiers in Gaza decorated their vehicle with the Batman symbol. I should have brought my Batman shirt tonight in honor of these kids. I may do it tomorrow night. Batman symbol for Purim, because tomorrow they got Purim going on tomorrow too, as a tribute to Ariel Bibas. You can't beat that. That's so sweet. This is Purim 2025. We did 40 minutes of our show today on the radio with this thing. We talked about it. And I want to make a few general comments tonight about it. These tyrants and these dictators have come and gone through history that have tried to eradicate the Jewish people. They have tried to take Israel out. They have tried to destroy God's chosen people. It started really with Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the first recorded despot that attempted to annihilate a nation. Israel didn't go into Egypt as a nation. They went into Egypt as a people. They came out as a nation, the 12 tribes of Judah, or 12 tribes of Jacob, Judah being one of them, actually. And that nation has fought for its survival ever since. Some of it has been self-inflicted. They have disobeyed God, and they have found themselves under the oppression of many a kingdom, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans. Israel has had 2 temples destroyed. The Babylonians destroyed the first one. The Romans destroyed the second one in AD 70. They were scattered all over this earth in AD 70. The Lord told him he would do it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. In 1948, they were reformed as a nation. when you hear your anti-Semitic buddies tell you that Israel started in 1948, you can pretty much tell right away they've not picked their Bible up. They have no idea what the Bible says about this. All the Hamans of the world, all the Hitlers of the world, all the despots, Ferdinand and Isabella, the Spanish king and queen that expelled the Jews in 1492, trying to destroy them. The pogroms throughout the 18th century, 19th century, going back to the 1200s when Israel was blamed for the plague, the Black Plague, and thousands, tens of thousands of Jews were executed and murdered on cold blood. You had the anti-Semitic writings of Martin Luther that led really to Hitler's inspiration to write Mein Kampf in that jail cell in 1932 before he became actually part and president of Germany's nation. He had caused an insurrection trying to take power. They threw him in jail, and it was during that time in jail that he wrote down on paper that he wanted to see the Jews absolutely annihilated. Hitler became the modern-day Haman, and he became the modern-day version of the same thing that Haman did back in the days of Persia. I'm not going to have time to go into the Bible story tonight. I'll give you the high points. Esther and her uncle Mordecai had been taken captive by the Babylonians, and they stayed in that kingdom. And of course, the Persians overtook the Babylonians, and Esther would ultimately become the mother of Cyrus the Great. Esther was a godly woman, and she was thrust into this whole ordeal by her beauty. Queen Ahasuerus had gotten tired of Vashti, and he had put her aside and held our modern version of the dating game. He held a beauty contest to figure out who he would marry next, and Esther caught his attention. You know, it's funny that the word God is not mentioned in all of Esther. You can't find God's name, but you can sure find his providence. You can sure find his providence and his hand throughout this book. And Esther was brought into his court and married him, and he married her. He loved her. He fell in love with her. And her uncle Mordecai caught the eye of an anti-Semite called Haman. Mordecai worshipped God, and he was never going to bow down to some despicable Persian leader in honor and violate his conscience, and he didn't do it, and it made Haman so mad that he concocted this plot to destroy the Jews. Where you get the word Purim from, it comes from a Hebrew word pur, P-U-R, it means lots. Haman's hatred for the Jews was so ugly and hateful that he literally cast lots to determine what day that he would annihilate every Jew. And when Mordecai found out about this plot, he went to Esther and he told Esther, he said, you have got to go to the king and you have got to tell the king this, because Haman had went to the king and convinced him that there was a people within his kingdom that was trying to usurp his authority without saying it was the Jews. He convinced the king that there was an insurrection, and the king gave him permission to do it unknowingly. Esther risked her life. In that Persian culture, you could not come into the king's presence until he extended that rod and extended his scepter to her. And at the risk of death, she came into his presence that day. And Mordecai had told Esther, he said, Esther, if you don't do this, we're going to perish. If you don't do this, you're going to perish with us. You're Jewish. All of us are going to die. You've been called to the kingdom. God has put you in this place for this time, for such a time as this. For such a time as this. And the story goes that Esther did just that with great bravery. She went to her king, her husband, and he told her to be quiet and let this play out. And Haman had even gotten so arrogant to the point that a banquet had been called, and he was planning on hanging Mordecai at this banquet, and he had built gallows to make a spectacle of Mordecai especially, but to launch this plot to kill the Jews at this point. And the king calls Haman, but he summons his family as well to the banquet. Haman walked into this banquet with so much arrogance. He gets to the banquet, And then he realizes, and I'm sort of paraphrasing the story, there's a lot of nuances I'm probably missing here and so forth, but he gets scared because wind gets to him that Esther has found his plot out. But he's not sure. He's trying to get to Esther before she can get to the king, not knowing she's already been to the king. So he goes to that banquet, and the king confronts Haman personally, and he has Esther reveal the plot publicly. And Haman and his entire family, his wife and his children, are all hung on the very gallows that he had built for Mordecai and the Jews. There's a Bible lesson in that tonight. There's been a lot of gallows throughout history that have been prepared for Israel. There's been a lot of enemies that have sought her destruction. There are modern-day enemies. There have been ancient enemies. There's been ancient hatreds. People have tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to eradicate this beautiful nation off this planet. They've not been able to do it. The one that will come the closest will be the Antichrist. He is waiting in the wings somewhere tonight. We don't know who he is. We won't know who he is, to be frank with you, until the church is taken out of the scene. But he will plunge this world into unspeakable evil. But one thing about him, he will have one thing in his heart. He will have the hatred of Haman and the hatred of Hitler, unlike any despot of the past has ever had it. Hitler was a preview. Antiochus Epiphanes was a preview of what was to come. But neither Antiochus or Hitler had the backing of the demon spirits that this despot will have. He will sign a false peace treaty with her. She will believe that he's their Messiah. He will break that covenant. He will plunge her into a second Holocaust, unlike she's ever seen. The first Holocaust basically was 6 million people. What Haman couldn't do, Hitler almost did back in the 1930s. It was Satan's last-ditch effort to destroy the Jewish race so they would not be reformed, because in them being reformed as a nation, it started God's prophetic time clock to the end of this age ticking. Israel is God's prophetic time clock. And when we celebrate Purim, we are celebrating this great victory, and Purim means lots. The lot, the day. This was the day that Haman had decreed Israel's destruction, but it turned out to be his own destruction. I want to say this to the anti-Semites tonight that are preparing gallows for Israel. You better make that rope very loose, because that rope that you think you're going to put around the Jew's neck is going around yours. Just saying. I want to tell the enemies of Israel tonight, these nations, you may think that Israel's down and out. I'm going to tell the church this tonight. You may think Israel's been replaced, Israel's not in the plan of God, and that's just coming from ignorant, wretched people. Spiritually wretched people. Ignorant people. Prophets. Teachers. Intercessors. 20-year-old radio host without a brain. Spiritual, not a spiritual bone in their body. Israel, folks, I hear this tonight, that the Israel of old is not the Israel of today. Well, what Israel is it then? Is there going to be a new nation of Israel fall out of the heavens like pixie dust? No. No, the Israel of the Bible, folks, is the Israel that has been reformed, that sits in that land over there tonight, with a land divided and an enemy within, enemies within, enemies without, that are seeking her destruction, just like Haman sought it millennial ago. Israel is in for some dark days. There's no doubt about it. Israel is going to experience great death and destruction and chaos in the Great Tribulation period. No doubt about it. Israel is away from God tonight. She's blinded. And we've talked about this over and over and over during our morning Bible studies. And we talk about it a lot on Wednesday night and a lot on Sunday night. This blindness that is on Israel is deep, and it's not going to be rectified until Jesus Christ comes back at the end of the Great Tribulation, and she is going to accept a false Christ, sadly, before she accepts her real one. But let me tell you this tonight, as I told the radio audience today, and you've heard me say this so often. You know, it's a shame and disgrace. I'll say it like this. You know, I don't care if you don't want to believe Israel has a plan and God's plan. If that's what you want to believe it. If you think America has replaced Israel, believe that's stupidity. If you want to believe that the Star of David's some kind of demonic symbol or the Rothschild symbol, believe that's stupidity. If you think the Kazakian Mafia, they've changed their tune. This same bunch was screaming Kazakian Mafia is in charge of Israel here about a year or two ago. That's died down because they can't prove it. And now their new thing is this is not the real Israel. So these promises in the Bible don't apply to this nation that's on the earth tonight. That's how spiritual ignorance, that's what it produces, folks. It produces spiritual stupidity. But if you want to believe all that, believe it. Enjoy it. Enjoy your moment. If that makes you feel good, if that makes your clock tick, if you think that if you need something to post because you're not relevant and people are not paying you enough attention, so you need to post something anti-Semitic to get people's Jew-hating blood boiling, have at it. It is a shame to me, though, that these same spiritual voices, they can't even condemn the violence that killed that little one right there. I want you to look at that face, folks. I want you to look at that baby. You see that precious youngin right there? That was killed by a group, Hamas. Sort of sounds like Haman, don't it? Same cause, same root, same spirit. That's the ones that perished in October of 2023. These voices have not even condemned the violence. Most of the church has never stood up and declared Hamas is evil, Israel, though not perfect, they're not the ones perpetrating the evil. There have been voices in these prophetic circles that have blamed Israel for this. There have been circles in the prophetic community that claim Israel's the Mossad, and Mossad's the Illuminati, and the Assad is so evil. And it's no different than the rhetoric, folks, that led to Hitler doing what he did. If you read Mein Kampf, he really took his talking orders from the protocols of the elders of Zion, who took their talking points from Martin Luther, who called the Jews vermin, who called the Jews the partakers of graft and insurrection, that they are they control the world's banks, they control the world's economies, they're the reason for all the sickness, the plague. You had YouTube channels just this year out there insinuating, just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, that Israel was behind COVID-19. No different rhetoric, folks. No different rhetoric than what Haman did back at Purim, and no different difference than what Hitler's rhetoric was in 1930. You see, this is the difference in Chris and these yahoos. Chris has got something called moral clarity, and I've got something called the Word of God as my strength tonight and my source, and I've got someone in me called the Holy Spirit, who refuses to allow me to think such stupidity, because he's the spirit of truth. And I'm not operating in other spirits. I'm operating and talking as the Spirit of God would say to the church tonight. But let's forget that for a minute, and let me just talk to you about this baby right here. You're a cold, callous, anti-Semitic, pathetic piece of human being that you can't even condemn the violence that killed this youngin. You are a pathetic individual. You have no soul whatsoever. You have no moral clarity whatsoever. You're no better than Haman. You're no better than Hitler. And I don't use that term lightly. I hate to hear that word because people use Hitler's name anytime they don't get their way. Everybody's a Hitler. Everybody's an anti-Semite. Folks, let me tell you something. I know pretty much what an anti-Semite is. And most of the time, the people that are slinging that name around, they're worse than Hitler could have ever been. But I'm talking about the human part of Purim tonight. That's the human face of Purim. Because the same enemies that has wanted Israel dead for centuries, they want her dead tonight. And that little one with that Batman shirt on, her memory will live on, or his memory will live on. It's a little boy. He's so cute. Can't really tell. Ariel be boss. His mother, sister are dead. Where's your humanity? But I want to say this to the anti-Semites loudly and clearly tonight again, just so you know where we stand, just so you know how deep Chris is digging in. And I hope you're getting a good earful. You see this nation right here? You see this nation right here? I challenge you tonight on this Purim. Go find America in your Bible. I can tell you, I can save you the search if you listen to me. You ain't going to find her. You ain't going to find her. Our future is yet to be determined. I'm unsure where America's future is going to be. We've got to pause, I think, in some of the things that are going on that are hurting our nation. But that's at best what it is, folks. It's a pause. This blood moon tonight is prophetic. It's a warning. Whenever there's blood moons, when there ever has been blood moons in the past, they've always been omens. They've always been symbols of bad things to come. Always. In history, scripture. The last time we had 4 back to back to back, the Pope, the most evil religious figure in the history of man, stood in this government's Congress and addressed this nation for the first time ever. A Pope had never addressed the Congress until the 4 tetrads of 2014 and 2015. Let me tell you this. There's no real clear picture of where America's going. But I will tell you this. This one right here, this image, this beautiful country of Israel. And I love both nations tonight, folks. I'm an American. I love my nation. But I love my God more than my nation. And I love my Savior, who is of the line of the tribe of Judah. This is not about the nation that I'm talking about, neighbor, because it was what the nation produced that makes her special and makes her blessed tonight, and that's the Messiah. Jesus Christ came from the line of the tribe of Judah, where we get the term Jew from. Israel is mentioned 767 times in the Bible. America is mentioned 0. Jacob and his surname is mentioned another 300 times. America is mentioned 0. Jerusalem is mentioned another 400 times in the Bible. America is mentioned 0. I should tell you where the heart of God is. God doesn't identify himself as the God of America and America and America. He identifies himself as the God of Abraham, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel. What am I saying to you tonight? Kings and kingdoms will all pass away. Oh, but there's something about that name. That name is Yeshua tonight. That name is Jesus Christ. He is the King of the Jews. He is coming back to redeem his people. They are going to accept him and be restored at the end of the tribulation period. And when the smoke clears, the one that I'm pointing to right here will be standing when the smoke clears. And there's going to be a lot of smoke and a lot of fire and a lot of terrible, terrible, terrible tragedies about to befall this nation. But I'm going to tell you something. If this nation right here does not stand with her tonight, our fate will be 10 times worse. As will all nations that have learned this lesson in the past faced as well, including Haman. That's your Thursday night Bible lesson. Our salute to the Jewish people tonight on Purim, and our prayers for that family right there. Because that child is the face of Purim tonight. That child is the face of Purim. There's those beautiful kids in Batman costumes today. All righty. All righty. All righty. All righty. Ho! Ho, ho, ho. I've got more, but I've got to give it give you a chance to talk. Now I'm going to give you a chance to talk. It's your call. It's your time to talk. You got a question, put it out there. We got 326 folks here tonight. Ho! Good. 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 Good, 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 good. To the anti-Semites. To the anti-Semites. This one's just for you.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of
I sure hope you do. I sure hope you do. All righty. Your turn. Got a statement? Got a comment? I didn't put a poll out there tonight. Let's see. What can I put a poll out there tonight? Let's see here. Let's see. I don't know what to put out there. Nice late anyway. If you got something to say, put it in the house. Put it in the chat real quick. We got 10 minutes. Good to see everybody. John will sing it. It's going to be on our new hymn sing, or hymn project number 4. We'll play it this weekend if we can get it from Chris. Any questions? Any questions? Mark Kaysen, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Does the Antichrist know that he's the Antichrist? Chris Aquila, good to see you tonight, dear. I don't think he does. Not yet. Not yet. Alexander the Great, Chris, the same principality that controlled Alexander the Great is the same principality that will control the Antichrist. I think, and there's no indication that, Alexander the Great thought he was a god. He thought his mama convinced him that his father was Zeus or Apollo. But he never understood that he was being controlled by a demon spirit. And I don't think the Antichrist will know. There's a verse in Daniel that says he will worship a god he does not know. A strange God he does not know. And I think that he is not going to be aware of it at the beginning. He eventually, I think, will. But as of tonight, right now, I don't think the Antichrist, no, I don't think he has a clue. That's my opinion. I may be wrong. He may be sitting out there listening to this, laughing at me and saying, I do know who I am. But I will tell you this, whether he knows or not, we're not going to know. Because he will not be revealed until after the rapture of the church. And that's in 2 Thessalonians 2:7. And then that wicked. Good to see you, buddy. I'll holler at you tomorrow. We're going to be with Chris up in Dayton, the 21st or 22nd. We're considering maybe moving that to the next weekend. But I'm going to talk with her tomorrow about that. But we're going to be coming to Dayton, Ohio in March. At some point. It's a good question, friend. It's a great question. Good to see you tonight. Love you. That's my sister, Mac. I've known her for 23 plus years. And just like family, just like blood kin to me. Probably closer in many ways. Gabriel Hosting. Gabriel Event Center. Jeannie says, my question earlier is, isn't there a prohibition against the judiciary influence legislation? Jenny, they're supposed to be, but again, these activist judges, they don't care. This is where the Congress has got to step in. They can impeach these judges, but it's got to come through Congress. And, I'm not sure what the vote is, if it's a simple majority in the Senate, but Thune and them need to step in and stop this mess. The Supreme Court is going to have to ultimately step in and stop it, and I can't say that they are going to, because Amy Coney Barrett is just going crazy. She just lost her natural born mind. And I don't know what's going on with her all of a sudden. So there's no prohibition. They can do it. Look, I read you the article tonight, folks. Clinton was he only had 10 or 15 injunctions like this on him in 8 years. Trump's been in 4 years and 2 months. And just in 2 months, in his second term, we've had 110 of these injunctions. It's unbelievable. Tim, you say, are there any good prophets? Tim, that's a faith question. I don't want to get into that tonight. I believe there are prophets out there, but whether they're good or not, that's not my call. That's God's call. I think that we need to be careful of elevating prophets and acting like that they're the only ministry in the body of Christ right now, and that's what a lot of people have done. No, the prophets are just it's a fivefold ministry gift across the board, and they're no bit more important, and they're no less important than any other ministry of the pastor, the teacher, the apostle, the evangelist, and the prophet. They're listed And when Paul said, on this hangs the church, the apostles and the prophets, what he's talking about, the prophets of old, was how God spoke to Israel through those prophets. But today, he speaks to the church through the apostolic ministry of the fivefold ministry gift, because all 5 of those ministries are involved as being a sign of an apostle. But when you get down to it, that prophet that comes into a church is subject to that pastor. The pastor's the head of the church. And Tim, I'll just answer your question a little bit. When Jesus wrote those letters, the ones we've been studying on Wednesday night, he didn't address those letters to the prophets. He didn't address those letters to the apostles. He didn't address them to the teachers in those churches. He addressed them to the angels, who are the pastors, because they are the gatekeeper. And the way I look at it, if a pastor is worth his salt, he's not going to allow a bad prophet into his church. And if that prophet gets up on that pulpit and starts spewing a bunch of nonsense, that prophet would be called down and embarrassed in front of the people, and he would be told to leave. In my church, he would not be asked ever back again, but he would not be spewing his venom or her venom to my people. But that's where you got to check before they get up there in that pulpit to begin with. Are there any good prophets? I don't know how you define good, Tim. Good to see you, but I hope to see you in Ohio. I hope to see you in Ohio. I wound up answering your question after all. Oh, goodness. Cedric, how would you deal with those corrupt judges if the McMahon was in charge? How would I deal with them? I'd impeach every one of them. Cedric. That's how you get rid of these judges. But the thing is this. It's beginning, the storyline in this, Cedric, is developing, and we got to quit. We've been going right at an hour and a half. The storyline about that is simple. I think this was all planned. I think that this was their wild card in the bullpen, that they knew that even if Trump won, which he did, that they had these judges in line. There were several of them that had even went out there back in November and said that they were not retiring. A lot of these judges were planning on retiring, and they came out of retirement, and they literally said for the express purpose of stopping Trump and his agenda. What would I do if the McMahon was in charge? Some of it I can't say on the air. I would deal with it, but I would deal with it legally and judicially. I would call for their impeachment, but that's Congress. It's got to be a legislative. The legislative branch checks the judicial, because the Senate confirms these judges. And this is where these Republicans have got to be more careful. See, and this is what's so hypocritical, Cedric. When a Democrat president throws a judge out there, Republicans never put up a fight. They just lay down and, okay, we'll vote for him. It's your judge. It's your choice. Trump puts up judges, and the Senate fights and fights and fights. I do find it interesting that the 2 judges that they fought the worst over was not even Amy Coney Barrett. For some reason, they pretty much let her have a pass. They despised Brett Kavanaugh. And I've never tried to figure that one out. But the left went after Kavanaugh with the most evil, vilest attacks on him and his character I've ever seen a judge go through. But they did not do the same thing to Amy Coney Barrett. And she's proven they didn't need to. She's in their pocket sometimes. Because some of this stuff she's doing just makes no sense. What she did the other day was just complete insanity. I understand Roberts. Roberts is he's a worthless rhino, but I didn't expect it out of her. You just never know about these judges. But they have to be dealt with by impeachment if they're going to be removed off the bench. The only hope we've got is that the Supreme Court steps in and says, it's Trump's call. He's in the executive branch. It is his call to fire and fire. And that response of that judge, it wasn't even constitutional. He just said, well, I can't believe that these good people are being let go. They're not good people. That's not his call. He's not an employer. He's not in HR. He's a judge. He don't know how good these people are. They got to impeach him, Cedric. Impeach them all. Impeach them all. That's how I do it. Aaron Hawks, good to see you. Carol Smith, to those following these lawsuits and win, realize it's setting a precedent for future Dem presidents. Carol, they don't care. They don't care. And, you know, Carol, I tell you what, they don't care. They know that the Republicans wouldn't do this. Look, think about all the sleaziness of the Biden administration and the sleaziness of Hunter and Joe Biden with that laptop. You didn't see one Republican DA go after the president. Not one time. All this corrupt Ukraine money, the Biden crime family. There was so much evidence that Joe Biden was taking kickbacks from Canada and Hunter Biden from Burisma. I didn't see one Republican DA do a thing. Not one thing. Letitia James, a low-life DA, calls President Trump, almost came close to losing his entire fortune to this woman. And still may if he don't win on appeal. Alvin Bragg did it. Alvin Bragg's just a low-life scumbag. And look what he did. He got 34 convictions in a New York jury. You cannot tell me that a Republican DA somewhere in this country could not have brought the same kind of charges against Joe Biden. Where are they at tonight? Joe Biden's not even in office anymore. Do you see any Republicans? And I'm not, I'm not fussing at you, friend. I'm just, your question is a good one. They don't care. Because they know the Republicans are not going to return the favor. They're not going to return the favor if the damn president sits in office. The Republicans will lay down and say, hey, do what you want to do. Where are the Republican DAs? Good question. It's a good question, my friend. Good to see you tonight. Good to see you tonight. 100% Bear. It is 100%. All righty. I hope that you have enjoyed the show tonight. I have gotten my money's worth out of this one tonight. I know that. Ho, 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 ho. Biden installed 300 liberal judges while the Democrats controlled the Senate, so Republicans couldn't stop him. Roger, I disagree with that a little bit. The Republicans could have stopped some of it. I'm not disagreeing totally, but I think the Republicans could have done more. We never stop them. But that's my point. We don't stop them. Trump puts conservative judges on the bench and all hell breaks loose. And look what his cabinet went through. I mean, they didn't succeed because they didn't have any majorities. But it's just a complicated mess. Roger, I'm not disagreeing with you totally. I understand your point. It would have been difficult, but there was... Look, I look at Murkowski, and I look at Devine, the Health and Human Services transgender guy that was over our health of all things. By the way, I forgot to tell you one story tonight. I have to mention it tomorrow night. You realize that the state of Oregon, you Oregon folks, please get some help. I'm serious. Get some mental help. You put a lady over the Health and Human Services Department that identifies as a turtle. I'm not joking. I'm not being funny about that. She identifies herself as a turtle. And she's over the policy making of Oregon's health and mental well-being.
What did he say?
What did he just say? Yep, as a turtle. Listen, I got to go. May the Lord bless you tonight. Happy Purim. 2:45 in the morning if you're up. Take a look outside. Look at the blood moon. One of a time. We won't see this one again till March of 2026. Prophetic night ahead. Happy Purim to the Jewish folks in the Israeli nation tonight. And when I say folks, I mean that with all due respect. I love you guys. We're praying for you. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for your country. Put some fire in that house. I had a good time with you tonight. I behaved myself pretty good. I didn't get myself in too much trouble. I can't, when I'm doing radio, I can do these things and roll my eyes and shake my head really bad and mouth things without you seeing my mouth. It's a little harder on video. I can't do that unless I turn the camera off. But join me tomorrow in K-Star at 2 to 3. Probably won't see you Bible students till next week, but we've had a good Bible run this week. Great faith shows. Got 2 good faith shows coming Sunday. May the Lord bless you all out there tonight. We love you all. Appreciate your support of our network and this podcast and this show. We've been going at this 7.5 years almost now, man. It's hard to believe that. And I'm enjoying every minute of it still. I got to get me that hat right there. I got to get me a hat right there. All righty. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed. Be safe, you guys in the Midwest, I should say, and down south tomorrow and Saturday. May the Lord bless you. Good night.